everyone, during this video I'm going to talk about some important nootropics that you could be taking to improve your sleep quality. And when I say sleep quality, this encompasses two things. So it'll encompass how long you sleep, and secondly, how refreshing the sleep is, so the quality of the sleep that you're getting. When you're looking at the nootropics and supplements that you take to improve your sleep, the majority of the proprietary blends that you are going to find online are going to contain melatonin, and that's probably the most popular nootropic that you can possibly take for improving your sleep, but that's the one which you want to be the most careful with. If you're experimenting with melatonin, I would say it's a good idea to start off with the smallest dose possible. And I've really found that the brand really does determine the effectiveness. I've tried 7 or 8 different brands of melatonin, and some of them I do respond well to, whereas some of them I don't. And when I say I don't respond well to some of them, the experience I get is that I will wake up in the middle of the night and just not be able to sleep the rest of the night. So if I'm typically sleeping 8 hours per day and I take, and I have a bad experience with that particular brand of melatonin, I'll sleep maybe 5 hours and then I'm just there in bed, essentially waiting for the day to start, which is a horrible feeling. But this is the brand which I seem to respond best to. This is Now Food. So melatonin, you can find it in 3 milligrams, also 5 milligrams. Typically that's how it's sold, but this is very, very inexpensive. You could probably find this for $15 to $20 online. This is $12.78, the Canadian, for 180 capsules of 3 milligrams. If you are to take it and it's your first time, I would recommend that you just separate the capsule apart and just take maybe half of it, so that would be like 1.5 milligrams. See how you respond to that. If you do take it, it's very, very strong stuff. You won't necessarily build a tolerance to it, but overall, it's a good idea just to really take the least amount required for it to have the effect. A lot of people just do well with taking as small of a dose as like 0.5 milligrams. So that encompasses melatonin. Something that I've been paying attention to recently is that a lot of popular manufacturers are starting to release like an extended release melatonin. So, I mean, for example, if you're to take a capsule, instead of the effects just working instantly, it will basically have an extended release. So this is, if you look on Google, you'll be able to find it. Like, this is by Natural. It's extended release, same dose, 3 milligrams. So this I've only tried a few times with. It's too early to tell whether or not it's better, but it's something that is definitely worth paying attention to and purchasing if you're somebody that has tried the original melatonin and you're not responding well to it. I also do like valerian root, and you would take this supplement the same way you would take melatonin, so 1 or 2 hours before you fall asleep, and you'll essentially just feel a little bit calmer. These are 2 supplements that you really don't want to take if you're about to drive. So the scenario where you're gonna you're at the library and you take some melatonin and you have to drive home, yeah, don't do that, because you don't want to fall asleep behind the wheel. Valerian root, it's not as strong as melatonin, so if you overdose or you take quite a bit, like 2 capsules of the recommended dose of whichever brand you purchase from, then it's not something to worry about. It doesn't taste great, so I would recommend that you do get that in the encapsulated form. It's very healthy, no side effects that you should pay attention to at all, and overall good stuff. I like that a lot, but it's not as effective as melatonin. However, those experiences that you have with melatonin, which are not favorable and really do hurt your sleep, just make it such that valerian root is a really, really good alternative to that. So when I started having more and more bad experiences taking melatonin, so it just really affecting my the following day in an adverse way, that was when I really started taking valerian root, and a lot more consistently. These days I'm taking valerian root more than I'm taking melatonin. These, I would say, are my 2 favorite nootropics to improve my sleep quality. And then besides that, there's just a bunch of things which really don't work. 5-HTP is very commonly recommended to take. It's something that really does improve your mood and is supposed to have a lot of benefits in terms of sleep. For me, it really did next to nothing in improving sleep quality. As well, I've supplemented with GABA, I've supplemented with L-theanine, and if you're really, really interested in just paying attention to any specific ingredient or nootropic that can work for sleep, I would recommend that you just find like a good proprietary blend and deconstruct it. So this is a bodybuilding supplement. It's called Animal PM, and here's an example of where you can see they have just a huge proprietary blends and all kind of ingredients. that are all things which are going to promote better sleep sessions. So over here you can see, for example, they have the valerian root, they have the L-theanine, they have L-glutamine. This L-glutamine is not necessarily supposed to help with your sleep, but it is supposed to improve your growth hormone levels. It's taking something like 1 or 2 grams just prior to you falling asleep. There's magnesium, which does have some research supporting that it should help with sleep, but overall I've tried a bunch of blends. The only one which I really did like is a supplement that I've done a review on before, which is called Dream Water. And this is something you can actually buy, like a 5-hour energy. They sell it at the gas stations, and it's just like that. It's a drink. This stuff works. There's melatonin in it and some other stuff, but I really like it overall. And otherwise, some of the obvious things that people may not be paying attention to are things like decreasing the amount of stimulants that you may be having. So particularly caffeine. What people may be paying attention to is their ingestion of like coffee or caffeine pills or their pre-workout, but there are trace amounts of caffeine elsewhere. If you're somebody that, for example, consumes a lot of dark chocolate, it's actually quite easy to get like 50 milligrams of caffeine just from, taking maybe like a bar of dark chocolate, and that's like 90% like 90% cocoa, pretty much pure stuff. So 50 milligrams of caffeine, that would be what, like a third of a cup of coffee. So it adds up. In terms of nootropics that I'd be concerned about, anything which is a stimulant. So if you're taking like anything to help with ADHD, so Adderall, Vyvanse, Ritalin, obviously all that stuff is going to interact with your sleep, so you're better off just having it in the morning or latest in the early afternoon. And yohimbine is the one nootropic that I found impacts your sleep the most. If you're just exhausted to the point that you're very, very sleep deprived, you can sometimes get away with having like a cup of coffee a few hours prior to sleep. But yohimbine, if you're somebody that's taking it for fat loss or as an appetite suppressant or just to improve your mood, because it's effective that way too, that's the one supplement I would say I found has really interfered with sleep the most. It seems like you take even just 1 cap of yohimbine, you won't be able to sleep for 7 to 8 hours. So watch out for that. And lastly, carb intake. This is really important. If you're somebody that is on a lower carbohydrate diet, you may be better off experimenting with just like a refeed day. So a lot of people do this. If you follow Dave Asprey and his bulletproof diet, he eats a pretty low carbohydrate diet. He's pretty much in ketosis most of the week. However, he does have that once a week carb load day, and what that does is it improves your mood and it really does support better sleep. So for anyone who is having issues specifically with waking up in the middle of the night and just failing to get your 7 to 8 hours of sleep, you just pay attention to your carb intake. If you're less than 200 grams, then it may be worth just observing that, have a couple extra meals or just add some extra carbs to your meals, which really it's not that difficult given that carbohydrates are pretty easy to eat. They don't really fill you up as much as proteins and fats do. So just add some rice, even add like a sugary drink if you absolutely have to, and that should definitely help you out. So hope all that's helpful, guys. There's a lot of studies and research showing that about 30% of people are experiencing bad sleep quality of some sort, so just not sleeping enough or having, just too much stress overall in their day for them to be able to sleep in a rejuvenating fashion. So hope everyone enjoys this video, and I'll look forward to seeing you all next time.